Federal Hydra-Shok Deep 32 H&R Magnum versus their 38 Special+P. So the 32 H&R Magnum is a brand new round this year by Federal. It is a 85 grain Hydra-Shok Deep. It is rated at 1,025 feet per second. I'm going to test it through my 1.9 inch Ruger LCR in 327 Federal Magnum. And the 38 Special+P is a 130 grain rated at 900 feet per second. And I'm going to test that in my 2-inch barrel Taurus 605 revolver. So the point of 32 H&R Magnum is you get an extra round in a small revolver. You get 6 instead of 5. You get a lighter bullet, but it's often moving faster. So some people find that to be an advantage to get more velocity because you get a better chance of hollow point expansion. But this is a brand new round, so we're going to see what we get here when we test it. So I'm going to go through the chronograph, see what kind of velocity and accuracy I get at the same time. Then I'm going to do my 10% clear ballistic test. We're going to go into plain 10% clear ballistics to see what the best potential of those cartridges are. Then we're going to do more of a real world simulation. I like to do a test with just plain clear ballistics to see, you know, if we get hollow point expansion, because sometimes denim will clog hollow points. You never really get to see what that bullet's supposed to look like. So I've been incorporating a plain clear ballistics shot. So I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to do a real world simulation. 4 layers of denim on this first 3-inch piece that represents our pectoral muscle. After 3 inches of clear ballistics, we'll have a 1/4 inch medium density fiberboard to represent hitting ribs or sternum. And after 16 more inches there, I'm going to have another 1/4 inch medium density fiberboard to represent hitting ribs or sternum. So clear ballistics is roughly a half representation of flesh. So 3 inches and 16 inches is more like 1.5 inches and 8 inches. So kind of like 9 inches of penetration in an actual body. So we'll see what we get in our plain clear ballistics shot and our real world simulation. And then I will shoot at the steel target to see what kind of practical accuracy I can get with these. So let's get started with this test. All right, first up we have our 38 Special. And by the way, this is a 130 grain, and the 32 H&R Magnum is an 85 grain. So rated at 900 feet per second. These are probably ratings through 4-inch barrels, but we'll see what we get in our snubs here. So our 38 Special+P, 5 yards from the target. Let's see how close I get to 900 feet per second. 841, 849, 842, 832, 842. So, you know, a good bit below that rated velocity. Now our 32 H&R Magnum 85 grain. A lot of people like this because you get an extra round and it's shooting a lot faster. It's rated at 1,025 feet per second. Let's see how close I get to that in my little LCR here. 939, 918, 912, 916, 918, 924, 898. All right, so I can say for certainty that this has like half the felt recoil of that 38 Special+P, and this gun's actually about 3 ounces lighter, so almost no recoil. It's just a little bit above shooting like a 22 Magnum or something like that. So let's hit our ballistics jaw block and see how these compare. All right, our first shot in the plain clear ballistics. No denim in the way to clog a hollow point. No rib simulation to slow down penetration. Let's see what we get with our 38 Special Hydra-Shok Deep. All right, let's hit that with our 32 H&R Magnum. One more shot because the bullet came out of the block. Let's go take a look. All right, so our first shot with the 32 H&R Magnum came out the block to the left, and here it is. It's fully expanded, but the next shot stayed in fine. Interesting here, we got the same penetration with both of these. I was not expecting to see that. A little bit more damage with the 38 Special, a little bit more tearing, but not significantly more. Our 38 on the bottom, our 32's on top. Not a big difference there in the amount of energy dump that we had going on. So with our 38 Special, we have a penetration just barely touching 12 inches. I might be able to call it 12 1/4. Camera parallax will make that track look like it's probably 12 3/4 to 13 inches. But yeah, straight on view, we're at about, I'll call it 12 1/4. And I will call the exact same thing with our 32 H&R Mag, 12 1/4 inches. It's lined up exactly perfect from my view here. Both exactly just enough penetration. So let's put on our denim, put in our rib simulations, and see how they compare in more of our real world simulation. All right, our real world simulation, 4 layers of denim, followed by 3 inches of clear ballistics, then a 1/4 inch medium density fiberboard to represent hitting ribs or sternum, 16 more inches of clear ballistics, and then another 1/4 inch medium density fiberboard at the back of that to represent hitting back ribs. So let's see what we get here with our 38 Special plus P. All right, let me set that back up and hit it with the 32 H&R Magnum. All right, our real world simulation, 32 H&R Mag. Let's see what this does. Let's go take a look. All right, so some interesting performance there. It looks like we got some expansion with the 38 Special, but it looks like with the 32 H&R Magnum, it didn't quite expand the way I'd like to see. So we'll pull out this medium density fiberboard and take a look here. And I can tell what's going on here just by looking at this. Our 38 went in straight and expanded. It may have been tumbling a little bit, but it still looks like it's expanding going through that. Our 32 H&R Magnum is tumbling before it hits this, so tumbling right away, and then tumbled through that. So it did not really get any expansion because of that denim, I think. But we did get more adequate penetration with the 32 H&R Magnum. So I'm going to say it's still pretty good in that regard. Our 38 Special, we got some under penetration here. Our track goes right there to about 10 3/4 inches of penetration, but I see at least some expansion. I can't really see that bullet fully right now, but yeah, 10 3/4, a little bit under penetrating. Now our 32 H&R Magnum, we are again right there at 12 1/4 inches. So our penetration remained better for consistency with our 32 H&R Magnum, but our 38 Special had some better expansion, at least some expansion going through our real world simulation. And this whole block shook a lot more with the 38. But that being said, you know, it's got like twice the recoil. So for being how low recoil this is, it's not too bad for the 32 H&R Magnum. I would say it did okay. Not great, but okay. So let's pull these out of the block. We'll take a close-up look at them, then I'll shoot our steel, so kind of practical accuracy and shootability and get on steel with these. All right, so here's a close-up look at these bullets going through plain gel. Here is our 38 Special. We had some kind of weird, inconsistent expansion. Really big expansion, but just kind of inconsistent for what it is. But, you know, we still got adequate penetration. It looks kind of like a sunflower. And our 32 H&R Magnum through plain gel is this. And that first shot we had looks exactly like this. So I'm not even going to include that in this test because it didn't, you know, stop in the gel. So kind of skewed, but it looked exactly the same as this. So a very consistent expansion, and we can see how, you know, adding a little bit more velocity creates a little bit more consistency with expansion. That's what a lot of people like to see. However, when we went through our rib simulation and everything, I think the lack of energy really just caused some issues here. With our 38 Special, we still had some expansion on one side, but not the other side, which is a very interesting thing to see. It did expand on both sides, but on one side it peeled back, and the other side here it stayed open. So that would probably indicate kind of hitting that rib simulation, maybe tumbling a little bit. Probably what would really happen in an attack or something like this, because there's ribs. Our 32 H&R Magnum, I think we just didn't have enough power to overcome everything there, and that bullet bent after going through that fabric, or it bent after going through the fabric and then starting to tumble a little bit, and then it's going to hit a little bit skewed on that rib simulation and cause an issue kind of like that. So not great performance here, but at least with this we had better penetration than what we had with that. So it's hard to say one is a lot better than the other here. They're both you know, okay performance, but not so great through our real world simulation. So that's a close-up look at those. All right, 14 yards from the target. I'm gonna get a front sight picture and see how quick I can land these on target. I'm gonna shoot as fast as I think I can still hit the target while shooting as fast as I can while doing that. So one of the selling points to the 32 H&R Magnum is you got an extra round plus more controllable recoil. And with the 38 Special, you might have a little bit more power per shot, but you know, you got more recoil and less rounds. But let's see what I can do here with our 38 Special Plus P. Fairly controllable, but not great shooting on my part. Let's see what I can do with our 32 H&R Magnum. Yeah, a lot less to think about with this. With the 38, there has to be just a little bit of control on my part to think about bringing that back down and just waiting a moment. As we're with this is a more of a natural flow, or it's like it recoils, it naturally comes down, and it's already back down on target by the time I pull the trigger again without even having to think about it. So I'd say that's definitely a benefit for our 32 H&R Magnum when it comes to shooting it. So let me back up a little bit and I'll shoot from a little more distance and see how these will do for me I'll do 40 yards. All right, 40 yards from the target. I'm just gonna do some slow fire with both of these and see how they do for accuracy for me from 40 yards. So 38 Special Plus P, see how I can do with this. I'm okay with that. Looks like some of them are kind of trending to the left a little bit. That could just be me though. 32 H&R Magnum. Let's see how I can do with this. All right, so I think probably that first shot went low because the rest of my impacts are kind of low. So it's shooting a little bit low for me from this distance, but I don't think it's less accurate. And it's just the point of impact is just a little bit lower for me. Probably because the 38 has more muzzle jump and that bullet, you know, is probably leaving the muzzle just a split second after a little bit of recoil is happening. So for me, I'm better with the 38 at this distance, but overall not too bad for what I got with these. So interesting test here. So what I'm going to say is both of these did relatively well for what they are. You know, with 38 Special, this is one of those things. It seems like no matter how you slice it up, there's always something that you're not getting. It's hard to get everything. It's kind of the same with 380 ACP. You know, 38 Special, either you get penetration, but you don't get expansion, or you get expansion, you don't get quite enough penetration. I'm going to say this isn't too bad overall because we got expansion with both those shots through plain gel and our real world simulation. And in both of those shots, we got some expansion, and the one with the real world simulation, it got just a little bit shallow, but it was really, really close to meeting 12 inches of penetration. So I would say overall, our 38 Special is not a bad choice overall. It felt very accurate and consistent for me. So I actually like what I'm seeing because 38 Special is often a lot worse than this. So pretty good there. Now, our 32 H&R Magnum, I've seen better performing 32 H&R Magnum, sort of, kind of, when it's loaded a lot hotter. When you load it more at this power level, like the critical defense, it does pretty good, but not great. And I'm seeing the same thing here with this. It does pretty good, but not great. But I'm going to say for its recoil, it did fantastic because we got 12 inches of penetration, whether it was a plain clear ballistic shot or whether we had rib simulation and fabric in there. We were getting adequate penetration. And we're getting kind of a similar recoil to kind of warm 22 Magnum, but you're still always getting that, and you got a pretty big 32 caliber bullet. Not bad overall, I'm gonna say. So I would say both of these are acceptable for what they are. Our 38 Special, I would say, did a little bit better because we got expansion with both shots. But we had a little bit more consistent penetration with our 32 H&R Magnum, albeit we had some tumbling. So not bad, but pretty good. So that's what you get today. Very interesting new ammunition. I actually would carry it because it seemed like it got adequate penetration and some expansion, and the recoil was nil. So pretty good overall. So that's what you get today. So as always, comment, share, and like, and thanks for watching.